We made around 250K with just Pinterest ads in 2 months with actually the home decoration store.
Hey everyone, it's Sean again from SaleHoo. In today's video, we get to interview a seven-figure dropshipper, Marc Chapon. He mainly focuses on Pinterest. That's what he's best known for. But first, Marc, could you give us a bit of background on your e-commerce journey?
Of course, thank you for having me. I actually started with hospitality. That's my background. So I used to be a cook. At one point, I kind of got tired of it, and I wanted to create my own business. That's always been my dream. I started kind of playing around online, just finding different online businesses, ideas, and so on. First, I tried affiliate marketing, and then it was like a social media agency. And then I came across dropshipping and e-commerce, and I always loved design and creating things. And I had, a lot of fun creating the website and the brand. And I had a bit of a background in marketing, so always kind of had fun doing it. So that's pretty much how I started. I started back in 2017, I believe, with my first brand, and it was a home decoration and cooking store. I also had a pet store. I was known for this one as well. That Spocket wrote an article about it. And so that's pretty much my background. I started with these two brands, and when it started working out, when I started making a profit, and then started teaching it to other people.
Right. But what was the trigger for you to get into dropshipping?
I love the idea of having no inventory and just being able to have my own brand, but without having to spend and invest thousands of dollars in pretty much in products, because I didn't have that budget at the time. So I like that idea. I didn't like the idea of buying products from AliExpress or something like this, because I wanted my customers to have beautiful products, and I wanted them to have I want my product to be shipped quickly. So, I wasn't really keen to the idea of my customers waiting 2 weeks or months or even more, for their products. So that's why I started using American suppliers at the time. So I used Etsy, platforms like this to actually find suppliers.
Right. And could you share with us your biggest successes and biggest challenges in dropshipping? Maybe for the successes, you could even share the figures you've made, like in a month, in a year.
Yeah, so I have actually some case studies. I'm sure you can mention them, different case studies on how much money we've made in a few months. We've made around 250K with just Pinterest ads in 2 months, with actually the home decoration store. Yeah.
Sick. Nice. And then I guess we could move on to marketing. So the marketing segment, more technical stuff. How should someone test their products on Pinterest?
What's good about Pinterest is that it combines the best of Facebook and Google. So you can actually search interest, and you also have keywords. So the beautiful thing about keywords is, again, you're dealing with warm traffic, people that are already interested in something that you might be selling, right? So if you're targeting a keyword such as, I don't know, a chair, right, and you're selling a chair and people are looking for a chair, then you're already halfway there, because you already know what they want. So it's easier to sell it to them, rather than, most people use Facebook, where you don't really know, you want to sell something, but it's kind of it's a bit random, right? Because you're trying your best to figure out what your audience is, but you don't really know. So you kind of throwing things at the wall and hoping it sticks. And with Pinterest, that's not the case, because, again, you're dealing with warm traffic. The other thing that is pretty cool is that you're not gonna spend as much money on ads when you're testing on Pinterest rather than Facebook. For example, on Facebook, it doesn't matter if you get a sale or zero sale. If you decide to spend $20 or $50, you're gonna spend $50. That's what Facebook's gonna do. On Pinterest, the thing is, because, again, there's keywords involved, sometimes there's not a lot of people that will search for that keyword. So you won't spend too much money unless people are really interested in it. And if people are interested in it, most likely it will result in them buying it. If not, they won't buy, but at least you won't waste money, So that's another thing that is really good. And the last thing I would say that is really, really cool about Pinterest is that it's very consistent when it comes to results. Again, because of this algorithm and the keywords involved. When the campaign is set up properly, when everything is done properly, a campaign can work for years, right? Without you touching it, which is not the case with Facebook. You always have to do something, plus the next day everything can disappear or just, explode or whatever. That's not the case with Pinterest, So yeah, that's I would say the three main points why I enjoy using it and why I teach people how to use it.
Right. Yeah, Pinterest is quite interesting because it's like a social media search engine. But for beginners trying to get into dropshipping, do you recommend they use Pinterest?
It is beginner friendly. It's not hard to use. Obviously, you definitely require, like everything else, any marketing tool you need to learn. You can definitely learn on your own. You don't need to pay for a program, whatever. You can definitely learn on YouTube, wherever, but you definitely need to learn. That's not something that you're going to be able to do right away without learning. That if, again, like I like to tell everyone, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Whatever it is, whether it's a business or anything else worth having, it takes hard work and consistency and effort, and you need skills in order to do that. So you need to learn. Like in the dropshipping space, everybody is going to tell you that it's easy to succeed, that everybody can be a millionaire and this and that, but that's not true. It's hard. Everybody can do it, but not everybody will, because most people give up because it's very tough. And, you start doubting yourself. You start having bad days, bad months. You lose money, especially in the beginning. It's super, super tough. So, yeah, I like to remind people that this is a real business. It's not like this is not a scheme, and it's not something that you won't become a millionaire overnight. That's just, this doesn't exist anyway. So yeah, it's the same with Pinterest. You need to learn it, but once you learn it, it's definitely not hard to use. It's definitely easier to use than Google, for example, and it's definitely very, very effective.
Now let's talk about product research, especially for Pinterest, focused on Pinterest. How do you go about doing your product research, or what is your product criteria for a winning product in Pinterest?
So I mostly find most of my products on platforms such as Etsy, because I do a lot of print on demand. So I find design ideas on whether it's on competitors' ads or sometimes just on, like I said, on a platform like Etsy. I have a method that I actually share on YouTube as it's a free video, where I just look at reviews and I just make sure that there is a lot of recent reviews. So let's say we have a product on Etsy and I see that there is people reviewing the products every single day. But like, let's say 2 or 3 people, reviewing the same product every single day. This tells me that there's a lot of people buying this product, because obviously not everybody is going to leave a review, right? So if there's like 2 or 3 people leaving a review every single day, it means there is hundreds or thousands of people buying that specific product, and that's usually a great sign. So that's one of the ways I do product research. Again, on Etsy, there's more details to this. I share it in the video. But yeah, that's mostly how I do it. Obviously, then my experience comes into play in the different niches that I have stores in. I know what my customers want, and I also know pretty much what makes them tick, especially the audience as a whole, the niche as a whole. I understand that sometimes it's not products that I would buy personally. It's really important to detach yourself from your personal opinion and what you think, because it doesn't really matter what you think. What you care about doesn't matter at all. What matters is what people want to buy, right? So we've always all been guilty of this. When we start a dropshipping store, an e-commerce store, we try to sell exactly what we want, and then we don't understand why it doesn't sell. It's just how it is. You have to adapt. Doesn't mean you have to sell crappy products. Excuse me for the term, but you can sell amazing products, but it doesn't have to be necessarily the products that you dream about, right? So that's the thing. So sometimes, especially in the beginning, and then you learn what people want, and maybe you can find a happy medium and find something that you like as well. But it's very important to detach yourself from what you think is cool. A lot of people, they put a lot of ego in it, right? They're like, oh, but this is great, and because I like it, people will like it. No, you have to really detach yourself from this.
just because like I want to add more meat to the interview, is there some metrics you could share that are like critical for finding out whether a product is worth selling?
I can explain a bit of the mindset that I use when I'm looking for, when I'm trying to find the perfect audience for a product. Is first, obviously, you need to understand the niche, you need to understand the audience. If you're just trying to sell something because somebody else told you to, because other people told you it's a trendy niche or it's a trendy subject or trendy product, you're not going to be able to figure out what's the audience because you don't understand it, right? You don't really understand how those people speak, how what makes those people tick. So it's very important to live in the niche, and this means like having a passion for that niche or that subject. If you don't, then you won't understand it. It's like people trying to sell dog toys or pet toys, and they never had an animal or a pet in their lives. They think they understand it, but they don't. That's the thing about human beings I've realized is we always think we know everything, and that even when we don't have experience in something, because we watch movies or because we sometimes just have a little bit of experience, we think we know. We don't. And by doing this, we just make a lot of mistakes, and then we don't understand why it doesn't work. And a lot of people blame drop shipping or say, well, it just didn't work for me, but it's just because they didn't understand the niche or the product enough. So if you do that, first, you'll be able to have a bigger understanding of, how to find the right audience. And when I, gave you that example about the Canva and the couples and stuff, this is a niche that I'm very familiar with. It's something that I understand really well. So that's why I was able to just use like this logical approach, and I was able to find different demographics and different interests that were linked to what I was selling, but not as obvious because most people were not thinking about them because you needed more research and more thinking. So that's pretty much, again, what I would do. For example, sometimes you can find a product. Where was it? Remember there was a product actually I never sold, but I saw it was a very trendy product. It was a massage thing for the biceps. It was like just doing this to your arms, and people were just using it, and those were selling like a lot. And obviously, it became saturated pretty quickly. Then I saw a brand using the exact same thing for horses. So they were like saying, oh, well, you can actually relax your horse before competition or this and that. And it was the exact same product, with a dropshipping product. And just because they actually used that product for another niche or for another purpose, but still, it's still for a muscle, it's still for the same kind of thing, but not for a human being, but for an animal. And again, that's another way of being clever and using something that works for a different niche. So yeah, that's another thing you could do.
Right. Now I want to talk about suppliers. So once you found your winning product, you decided that you want to work with Pinterest or whatever platform. How do you go about figuring out what supplier you should choose?
I started with American suppliers and European suppliers because I like the idea of them, of my customers being shipped pretty quickly, and also just I knew the product were good because I could look without even buying the products. I knew it was good because I could look at the reviews, and it was just more serious than just on AliExpress where you don't know. People buy gadgets, they know what they're buying, they don't care if it's sturdy or not, right? They're just buying something they're going to use once or twice. On Etsy or platforms like this, you're dealing with different types of customers, people that like want to buy. They buy something that's going to be more expensive, but they want to keep it for a while. There's something that they really want to buy. It's not a gadget or something that they're just going to throw away, in no time. So, mainly used Etsy, and mainly started with American suppliers and European suppliers in general.
That's something we totally agree with. Using American suppliers is something that we advocate at SaleHoo. Actually, we recommend dropshippers start with using a local supplier to the countries or markets that they're targeting. So we have SaleHoo Dropship that take care of that. Of course, many of you know something like Spocket and all those other platforms. SaleHoo is something like that, but this time we pre-vet the AliExpress suppliers, list them on our site, and then you can integrate these products to your store. And then once you're done with drop shipping and you want to transition from drop shipping to buying products in bulk, you can move on to the SaleHoo directory, where we have, again, 8,000 plus pre-vetted suppliers from all around the world. So you can find the supplier that's local to you and get that inventory to your local warehouse or 3PL and get them shipped to your customer and scale?
When I started, I wish there was something like this, because I wasn't a fan of Alberto at the time and all the other, similar tools, because they didn't have good products, and it was mostly the same thing as an AliExpress, but you couldn't even know how to do product research because there was no way to know if the product was going to sell or not. There was no metrics. So I think it's a great tool. I think you guys are doing a great job, and it's good that there's people like you that care about, sourcing the right products and and helping dropshippers as well.
So last few questions. This is just on wrapping up and final tips for beginners or people who are just getting into dropshipping. If you were starting over and you only had $500, what would you do? Would you start with Pinterest ads, or would you save up a bit more?
So based on my experience, again, I'm just very honest. I can't just I'm never lie. I think $500 is not enough. So I would save a bit more and then definitely go on Pinterest. It doesn't mean you can't start with $500 with Pinterest. You can, because usually you're only going to spend a few dollars per day, since it doesn't spend too much money on keywords. It's a very slow process in the beginning. So it's going to spend $3, $4 a day, even if you have a $20 budget, set up. So definitely $500 is going to last you a while, but I don't know if that's all you have. It's not necessarily going to be enough, because in dropshipping, people don't talk enough about things that can go wrong. For example, you might have like PayPal or another payment provider that will take 20% or 30% of your revenue just to make sure that you're legit and that you're not going to leave with the money. And when this happens, you have to invest more money in it because you don't have enough money to pay suppliers. So $500 is not going to be enough, even if you find a winning product, like they call it, right away. So I'd say that I usually recommend $1,000 minimum. That's what I like to say. I think it's definitely manageable for people. I think people need to realize that, again, this is a real business. And if you can't, I understand that, life is tough and it's hard to save money. But if you want to create a business, you have to find a way, even if it takes a lot of time, that's fine, to gather at least $1,000 to have a bit of comfort and test different things. Because with $500, again, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's definitely very hard, because every move you make is going to be key. You know what I mean? And especially as a beginner, you don't know what you don't know, so you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and that's completely fine. So all the money that you're going to spend, you're going to think is the right move, but it's not. And then at the end, you're left with nothing. And I've realized that a lot of people that adopt a strategy where they don't have much, and they make the wrong moves because they get so stressed, right? Obviously, they have to think about other things like putting food on the table. And then they see that they're just spending all of this money, so they kind of lose it and they give up. So that's pretty sad. I think it's better for people to understand that it's good to have a bit of money on the side and have some recurring income, even if it's a few $100s that you allocate to the business every month. Could be 200 or 300 or whatever, but that's still really good. And you use this to keep the business going, rather than just say, oh, I have $500 and I'm going to spend those $500 and make it work. That's just not a good strategy, because if it doesn't work, then what? Then you give up. That's not a good mindset as an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, like, my mindset was, I don't care how much time it's going to take, how much money it's going to take. I'm going to do it until it works. And I don't know when or how, but at one point it's going to work. And if you have that mindset, I know it might sound cliche, but it's just the truth. If you have that mindset, at one point it will pay off. And most people, they give up too soon because they just blow up the entire budget. So it doesn't mean you have to take your time, right? Again, I understand people don't have tens of thousands of dollars. That's completely fine. But you have to then go at your own pace and not blow everything right away, in order to just improve and try to just move forward a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I like your mindset about doing it no matter how long or how much it takes, because a lot of dropshippers, they give up after, let's say they spent $1,000 and they still haven't found success. They give up, and it's like it might take even over $1,000. That's the thing.
Yeah. It took me more than, I don't want to say it because it was a while ago, but above 25 or 30, above 25K, I think, to
Really?
first
Wow.
yeah. I mean, obviously at the time I didn't have any help. I was doing it on my
Yes.
own. There
Yeah.
were not as many, coaches and stuff, and those that were there were pretty terrible. So it was not easy. But my point was like, yeah, like you said, sometimes and most of the time it takes more than $1,000, which is okay. People need to realize that right now in this era, we can create a business with just a few $1,000s, which is unheard of, right? Back in the days, you needed millions of dollars, if not, hundreds of thousands of dollars to build a restaurant or any brick and mortar business. Now with $1,000, you can, or just a few $1,000s, you can create a sustainable and profitable business. So people need to realize that, and not like complain when they just they spend 500 or 1,000 and it doesn't work. Again, you can't just blame the game. You have to understand that if it was easy, everybody would do it, and that wouldn't work. So in order for a business or for an economy to thrive, that's always going to be the case. You're going to have people that are going to lose, people that are going to win, and people that are winning are not smarter or whatever. There are people that just learn from their mistakes, move forward, and don't give up. They are pretty stubborn with taking action, and that's it. Like I'm very stubborn when it comes to not giving up. Doesn't mean I'm not making mistakes. It doesn't mean I'm not learning from my mistakes, because if you don't, obviously you're stubborn, you're doing the same mistake every day, that's not good. But you definitely have to have the self-resilience to think and act like nothing's going to stop you, right? And just move forward like you're enjoying the journey. And it's not always fun, right? Most of the time it just sucks, but you have to just move forward and just like and try to enjoy it, and say, okay, I made a wrong move here, or maybe that's because of this, maybe that's because of this. Then you correct it, then it still doesn't work. Then you're like, okay, well, maybe that's because of this, then it still doesn't work. And you continue, this process. And at one point, you're going to correct the thing or the things that will make it work. It's like a puzzle. I like to call it the e-com puzzle, the dropshipping puzzle. It's a puzzle that you don't see, and there's different pieces that need to be together, right, in order for you to complete the puzzle. If you miss like a couple of pieces, then it's not going to work, right? It's not going to be finished. So that's the same way. And sometimes you don't know what pieces of the puzzle you're missing, and that's why it takes time and experience to figure that out. I remember when I started, at the time I thought the website was the most important thing, which is not. And I was like, okay, I need to have a perfect website. Took so much time doing it. And then when I was not getting sales, I'm like, okay, so it must be because of the website, and that's why I spent so much money. And I was like, if somebody at the time, or just somebody told me, well, it's not the website, it's just the products. That's the main thing. You could have a really bad looking website, but actually, if the products are right, the marketing is right, that's the two most important thing. So I figured that out on my own, even though I didn't have anybody telling me, because I just tried to tick every single box. And at one point, I figured it out on my own. I'm like, okay, well, actually, now I know. It started working out when I selected that product, and the website didn't, do anything. So, it's like if you keep trying like that with this logical approach, I think being logical and having like, a pragmatic and logical approach is everything. That's what usually like make people successful or not.
Right. I think that's actually a really great way to end the interview, on mindset and on your struggle and how you overcame that. Marc, thanks for hopping on the interview. I'm sure our listeners will, get a lot of value from all of your insights. Is there anything you want to mention about where they can find you?
Yeah, people can also book a call with me if they need some advice. It's a free strategy call, so they can just reach out to me for any help, if they need anything.
Perfect. And then as for your YouTube channel, I saw that you have a YouTube channel. I'll just leave that in the description of this YouTube video. Thanks again, Marc.
You're welcome.